Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Rocket Mortgage Classic DraftKings picks and preview. If you missed out on your chance to play in the Pat Mayo Experience Open, shame on you out there. Next week, get in earlier. I'm doing those Sunday shows, and I'm going to continue to do those. That's where the link will first come up. You can always find it in the description of the video or podcast of all of the golf shows. 5,333, 80K guaranteed, no rake tournament, filled up in before Monday evening hit. So maybe we can make it bigger this week. If anyone, I saw a lot of people complaining about the payout structure this week. I just want to let you know I was the first person to complain as soon as they gave me the link. I don't actually make the payout structure. I give them like, hey, what I'd like to see. Turns out the guy who normally does it is on like vacation this week, and it was some jabroni, and he fucked it up. So hopefully it's back to like normal next week, where maybe we'll get up to 6,000 people. Maybe we'll have a top prize of like 7,500 and flat all the way down, because those are the type of tournaments I like to play in, where you min cash and double your money, which is not the case this week. So we have to live with it this week. If you win this week, you win 20K. So I mean, good week to win if you're ever going to win one. But that's where we stand on that. FantasyNational.com/Mayo get you 20% off, and that is where I'm getting all of the statistics from for the Pat Mayo Experience and the graphics that you see on the screen. And remember to smash the like button, give me your favorite sleeper, and if you're listening to the audio version, rate the show 5 stars. You want to leave a review? That'd be even better. Hopefully, I'm working on it. I should have 20 Millionaire Maker tickets to give away for this week, presumably on Twitter and presumably around noon Eastern time on Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly what the total is going to be, or if that's when it's going to be. That's what it's been the past 2 weeks from the contact that gives me the tickets. So hopefully that's what it is. So follow me on Twitter at the PME if you want a chance to get into that draw. No live chat on Wednesday. I will be debuting my top 200 fantasy football rankings for the season, and it's a national holiday for me, so I'm not coming in. Fortunately, when you guys are off on either Friday or Monday, I'm not sure which day it is, I'm going to have new content coming out. No delay on that. American holiday, it's one benefit of being Canadian. Usually you have to work through your holidays, but you always have fresh content when everyone else is off. Ben Rasa, awesemo.com. on the line. Ben, when is the actual, like, I know the holiday's on the weekend, but do people take the Friday or the Monday off, or both?
Yeah, it depends on kind of where you were. I don't know. I never had a real job, but I think Friday probably they get off, and people I'm sure are trying to snake it to grab a 4-day weekend.
Yeah, I spoke about this with Feinberg on Monday's show, that like working in the sports media industry for a decade, Monday's the worst day you could ever take off. It sucks.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, everything is all up in the air, obviously, with the calendar. I've never prepped for basketball in the middle of the summer, so my equilibrium is certainly off these days.
Well, hopefully we get everything back. Everything's good to go, and at least for now we have golf, which is fantastic news. And there's a Millionaire Maker for UFC next week too, so you're going to want to tune in to the UFC 251 or 252, whatever one it is. We'll have a show for that next week with Paul and Cody. Strategy-wise, for the Rocket Mortgage, this is a field that is better than last year's Rocket Mortgage, but about as quarter of good, as we've seen the past few weeks, without like all of the top names being here. What do you think the strategy is? Is it superstars and scrubs like you did last week, which turned out to really be the move because you saw DJ at the top, who is also your pick to win, and then a bunch of 6K guys?
Yeah, that worked out nicely where you can double up. And I feel just as strongly this week as I did last week about that. The difference, and we talked about this, to me, and we'll dive in, of course, the difference between the 6K guys and the 7K guys in some ways is interchangeable. So I see a bigger difference up top from tier A to tier B, and that's where I want to take advantage. I feel like it's pretty random at the bottom, but I'm going to mix and match and hopefully be very aggressive again.
I don't even see that huge of a difference between some of the 6K guys and some of the 8K guys, to tell you the truth.
There you go.
And that's like JT Poston's almost $9,000. Like in a better field, he's 6,700.
That's what I'm saying. The adjustment, and I get it. Of course, this is a different field in terms of strength versus travelers, but some guys got massive boosts. Other guys stayed pretty flat. that's where pricing discrepancies, you can look to take advantage of them and really build some pretty interesting teams this week.
Although I will not be doing the chat, I will be releasing my betting card on Twitter and Facebook, both at the PME, if you want to check that out on Wednesday. A lot of bombs and Kevin Na is where I'm at right now in terms of the betting market, and most of the bombs, their prices have dipped. We got Varner at 100-1 on Monday. I believe he's 60-1 in most spots now, and when we get to who the most popular plays of the week are on DraftKings, you're going to see Harold Varner up near the top. Everyone seems to be on old HV3, Big Harry V, this week at Rocket Mortgage. Harris English has withdrawn from this tournament as well. He tested positive for COVID-19, so he's out for 2 weeks. Hopefully Harris English gets better soon. We see him back on the course, and maybe we get a much better number, triple the number next time that we see him at Memorial or something like that. But let's jump into the 10K area right off the hop. Bryson, by far the most expensive player. He is 11,700. Last time we saw Webb Simpson, he was winning. He is second at 11,000. Then you have Tyrrell Hatton, Patrick Reed, Hideki Matsuyama, and Victor Hovland coming in at an even $10,000. You and I have been chatting about this through text because I won another ticket into that 555, and now I'm like, hey, I want to win it this week. I could use a down payment for a house. It would be fantastic if I could just earn myself a nice big victory, tax-free in Canada, by the way, plus the exchange. It's like $38 million or something if I just win 100 or something. But I like Hatton and I like Reed, and I'm good with fading Bryson.
I like Reed. I always like Reed. Closed really strongly last week. You're going to need to make putts. I think we all know that. He's going to be grinding. I don't worry about, this is a question I wanted to pose to you right off the top. We never, I'd say very rarely see golfers play 4 weeks in a row. This is different times. We have a bunch of guys who are playing 4 weeks in a row, including Bryson. Do you consider that at all, or do you just not care at this point?
It's not that I don't care, but I think he's done it twice in his career, played 4 events in a row, and he's missed the cut in the 4th event in both times.
Yeah, it's just so atypical. Guys really seem to build in, sets of 3, and then they take a week off here and there, unless you're Sanjay, of course. But I look to Reed, obviously the guy that he killed everybody at Heritage, but he lost a bunch of strokes putting. Not that he was close to making the cut anyway, but Decky is the true wild card. I think it's a much better course. He can lean on the long irons, take advantage of the par 5s. I'm pretty comfortable with him. And then, I know you like Hatton. I'm interested to see what he can do. He's making the switch to bent grass. He's been destroying on the greens. He's going to need to shore up the tee to green game a little bit because he's been really running hot with the putter.
He has been, but it's the off the tee game that's always going to plague him. And the difficult part in assessing Detroit Golf Club is we saw what it did last year. It was a birdie fest. Everyone hit the greens. There were fans trampling down the rough, so even if you got in it, it wasn't that big of a deal. Although the course does play as a par 72, so there's 4 par 5s, but it's not like super duper long once you get down to it. So I see a birdie fest, and Hatton's irons have still been really good. So that's what I'm looking at. And just like you kind of mentioned, you want to go to the very class players in this field if there's no real difference once you drop down below 9,000. Obviously, there's minute differences between some of these guys and the ones you like and the ones you don't. But Hatton's won 2 of his past 5 starts. The guy's really good.
Oh, he's great. It's just, I always struggle with guys like this because he's priced to the premium. But then you look and he's got recent form certainly to back that up. I don't hate the course fit, but if you're telling me that I can take a discount in price to Reed, to Decky, to Ricky, guys like that, I probably do that more often than not. Don't know what the ownership will look like with Hatton. I don't expect him to be popular though.
It's hard to say. I'm looking at Fantasy National now, and obviously this is a Tuesday morning, so most of the valuable information in terms of ownership isn't in yet. People are still, having Harris English highlighted, so he's still showing up with some ownership at this point. But it just feels like everyone's going to go to Bryson, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. People have been. Everyone's fallen, and I get it. It's very intoxicating to see what he does off the tee. Now he gets 4 par 5s. People kind of circled this as the Bryson spot, and I get it. It's not to say I won't have some, but I think you can get away with maybe building. It's like I always say the word hybrid, hybrid balanced in the sense where you double up top, but you're not taking Bryson and someone. It's for me, Reed and Decky or Reed and Hovland, something like that, and then you can still build pretty aggressively, but you're not breaking the bank with like two 11K guys or something like that.
Well, even to look at it, and you look at his results, 6th, 8th, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 5th. It's a pretty good run for Bryson right now. So going into
Not
the
bad.
break, super hot. Coming out of the break, super hot. However, if you look at his 3 events since hiatus has ended, you'll notice a solid drop-off in tee to green in each of those events. 10.6 at Colonial, 7.7 at Heritage, 4.2 last week. People complained about Bryson's putter a week ago. He putted the fucking lights out. He gained 5 strokes putting.
Yeah, and even in the other ones, the putter didn't plague him by any stretch. He was north, around a stroke, which sets the table. I do think he'll have more opportunities here. The rough is the other wild card. You mentioned this. Wasn't really a factor last year where everyone took this course apart. I don't think it'll be super punishing, but I also don't know at the same time if you're just going to be able to blindly bomb it down anywhere without getting in trouble.
Well, why not Webb over Bryson then? Like, we didn't even really bring up Webb, but it's a Donald Ross course. It is a par 72, which is a little bit different. Maybe the bent grass is the reason to fade him. Every time he's on bent, he misses the cut because he can't putt at all. But Webb's running hot right now. And if this turns into an iron and putting contest, which we all kind of think it's going to, he's the guy that you would want, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I do think he's one of the, in terms of grass splits, I don't overemphasize them, but there are certain guys that I do, and he is one of them. I think there's a significant bump down to him on bent. I don't love that he gets 4 par 5s. I don't like Webb. He's 11K. I'm not saying I'm not going to use him at all. I've been running dangerous with those fades. Got away with them here and there, but I still definitely prefer the guys in the 10K range to Webb this week.
So for me to power rank them, I like Reed, Hatton, and Hideki. I'm probably going to go full fade on Big Dick Vic as well. It is hope the putter continues to be left in the bag.
That's gonna be really tricky. He might be the highest owned guy on the slate.
I have early projections, and this is just from actually generated lineups. This is gonna fluctuate by 7 or so points. So don't hold me to this on a Tuesday afternoon. Get yourself a membership at fantasynational.com. Use /Mayo. Get yourself 20% off. That easy. Bryson the highest owned at around 24%. Hovland 21%. Your 2 highest guys.
Yeah, I mean he's crushing at tee to green. Hasn't been putting. We saw, at Travelers what he was doing on those par 5s, not the one on Sunday where he hit it at a bounce, very bad. But other than that, he's been taking them apart. So I get going there, but at the same time, I also get bumping down, to Sanjay, to Ricky, to Fee. There's a lot of other quality plays that you're probably going to get an ownership discount, and it's arguably a talent bump against some of these guys.
So Hovland is trending exactly the opposite of what Bryson is right now. Since the return, he gained 5.7 tee to green at Colonial, up to 6.1, up to 10.6. It's really hard to gain more than 10.6 strokes in any one event. Tee to green, he gained almost 8 through approach, gained over 2 off the tee, lost 3.5 putting. That seems to be a bit of a common theme with him. He has putted better on bent in the past, but it's a very short sample size. Did come 13th of this tournament, tied with Hideki last year too. I get all the reasons to play Hovland, but I think that if I'm going to enter one of these giant GPPs like the Millionaire Maker or the $3.20 max or the $5 drive the green, that sort of thing, that if Bryson or Hovland win, then I'm going to lose. And the percentages of those 2 guys combined winning is what, 15%?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's the thing with if someone, Bryson is easier to sell on this point. Yes, he's been on fire. He's been killing it. But these performances, if he comes, in 6th, in 8th, in 4th, you're not dead by any stretch. In some ways, depending on who wins, he might be a net negative. So the margin to get crushed is almost binary with a guy that's 11-7 and popular. If he wins, you're done. But if he doesn't, more likely than not, you're going to be coming out ahead. Again, it's not to say I'm taking a full fade on these guys, but I'll definitely make some teams where I look to change it up and be a little different up top.
Yeah, so I'm going to add Hideki to my player pool. So Hatton, Reed, Hideki, and the other 3 out.
That's fair. Like I said, I like Reed. I like Decky. I'm definitely lower on Hatton than you are. That's someone that I probably come in under, but I'll see where the ownership falls. If I can get easy leverage, I will, but not a priority.
It does seem like the most common build this week is going to be Bryson Hovland, as I just kind of pointed out, and then a bunch of scrubs. But everyone above 9,000 appears to be carrying double-digit ownership anyway. So at that point, just take the guys you like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Ownership is extremely important, but you don't want to start changing. I talk about that all the time over at Osimo. If you love a guy, you shouldn't be like, oh, I love this guy, but I can't play him because he's popular. That makes no sense whatsoever. You just need to leverage elsewhere. And in a field like this, it's kind of just choosing best available in a lot of these spots up top. So you can evaluate it straight up, and that's what I kind of plan to do.
The 9K range I'm finding super interesting because everyone's going to try to jam in at least one of the 10K guys. Probably two. Like if you go Bryson, Hideki, or maybe you go like Bryson down to Finau, something like that. But the entire range, Sungjae, Ricky, Finau, Bubba, Na, and Scotty Scheffler. Bubba and Na, man. I'm kind of digging those two guys. Like you can have Ricky, you can have Big Ricky and Tony Finau. Sungjae, it seems like something's off with him just at the moment. I think he's going to get it figured out. And, you know, in the first week where he's not going to be overwhelming chalk, it's probably a good week to go to him. Like I'd probably go him over Hovland, but at the present time, Bubba and Na are the only two 9K guys that I'm really considering. I think Kevin Na is probably going to win. I mean, take that with a grain of salt, but I think that Bubba's super sneaky here.
I like Bubba. Wasn't on him last week. He missed the cut on the number, which is always, to me, something to look towards because it's so arbitrary. Like one more stroke, he can get in. He fires a couple 66s on the weekend, and then he comes in like 12th. He didn't get that opportunity. Same with Finau. He shouldn't have missed that cut, but I'm going to look to all of them. Obviously, Ricky's been terrible, but I'm just going to continue to play him. I don't think it's that big of a deal that he's missed a couple cuts. I like this whole range. I mean, I think you can reasonably try to jam 2 9s with a Reed or a Decky this week. And be very aggressive.
Could you do Im, Na, Bubba and start your teams that way?
Definitely. Again, I call it like hybrid balanced, where you're attacking like you have a dead range in like the 10s, the 8s, and the 6s. You can go 9 and 7 together, 3 and 3. Really different build. A lot of people don't do that. I have no problem because I can make a reasonable case for all 6 guys in the 9K range. Even Scheffler, I think this is a better fit. Again, he can't putt, but get him back with the par 5s. I'm really leaning guys who can take apart these par 5s.
Well, the par 5 is, I mean, I'm trying to get Moose to figure this out on Fantasy National to really try to incorporate both going for the green percentage on par 5s and opportunity. I just try to figure out a better proximity way of judging par 5s because when you look at overall par 5 scoring, a lot of that actually has to do with putting. So, like you look at Bubba and Finau right now, over the past 24 rounds, Finau is 81st in this field in par 5 scoring. Ricky is 76th. Bubba is 59th. Kevin Na is 35th. And I guarantee you that those first 3 guys are giving themselves better opportunities on the par 5s.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It's getting up and down, being able to be crafty. And some of, like you said, I don't know exactly. The eagle percentages don't really jump out. Certainly can be attacked into. It's not. There's one hole that's definitely not. It's over 600. But these guys can get there. It's just a matter of finding ways to take advantage. And then it's not to say that the guys like Kevin Na can't put a wedge in their hand and still hold their own.
Yeah, just to take out. Well, the 2 of the par 5s are going to be accessible to basically the entire field. 7 and 17 both have above 2.5% eagle rates, which is exceptionally high. And of these guys above $9,000, the 2 best in the field in converting eagles, second in the field is Victor Hovland, third in the field is Scotty Scheffler. I'm curious, do you think people will go back to Scheffler after he too missed the cut on the number?
I think people are still in the mode that we've only had a couple of. Like they're taking a 2-week or a 3-week sample size, and you look at Scheffler, 55th at Charles Schwab, and then a miscut. I think to the casual person, that's going to sour them. To me, it means almost nothing, to be honest. I don't really worry about stuff like that, and the numbers aren't alarming in any way. So I'm evaluating Scheffler straight up. I think it's pretty fair price. I'm definitely on him this week.
Yeah, he's lost off the tee in 3 of his past 4 rounds and lost on approach in 4 of his past 4 rounds. So that would be the one concerning thing because he was striking the ball so well the first 2 rounds at Colonial. You're like, man, this guy makes a few putts. Watch out on the weekend. And then just he lost the ability to hit the ball.
Yeah, he's going to need to find that once again. That will be useful for my lineups, but like I said, I really like the way he plays. He's certainly aggressive, can outscore his placement. And you got all of them are in the same boat. Finau, Bubba, Ricky, like all these, even Sanjay, they've all been a little underwhelming. But at the same time, in this type of field, they're on the short list of best players available.
Here are some fun Bubba numbers for you. So the hardest holes on the course are the par fours beyond 450 to 500 yards. In the past 24 rounds, Bubba is first in the field on those. There's also two really short ones. Bubba on par fours, 350 to 400 yards over the past 24 rounds, fourth in the field on holes from that range. Like, you're going to have to do, like, the par fives are so easy. They're the four easiest holes on the course that it actually makes me decrease the amount of emphasis I want to put on par 5 scoring. For DraftKings pricing, I actually just kind of jacked up Eagles a little bit because, the 8 is better than the 3 on these holes when it seems like everyone's going to make the 3 anyway, regardless of who they are. That if you can take advantage of those holes, you're going to win this tournament on the par 4s.
Yeah, I mean, that you need to hold your own. I see what you're saying there. That sets the stage. If you can start clawing back with these par 4s, hold your own, of course, on the par 3s and just get out of there. You're going to be fine. Clearly, this is going to be a cut that it could be dangerously low. Guys should tear this apart. I know we only have 1 year to go off, but I don't think it's going to deviate that much.
Probably not. What do you think that the cut is going to be? Because it's now top 65 in ties. Obviously, last year was top 70 in ties, so I would expect the cut to be even lower, like 6 under, 7 under.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking maybe 5. I really don't like that. I just, there's something about that's really not my speed, but I guess it could be that low. That's just insane. Think about that. You shoot like 68, 69, and you might be heading home. Like, what?
Last year, the cut was -4. And the field is slightly better than it is this year. So you can work this one of two ways. One, if your guy shoots over par in any round, you're probably cooked.
Yes.
Or actually, no, if you get in round 1 at +1, depending on how the scores go, the one good thing about this course is that there are most certainly 64s available. That your guys aren't necessarily out of it unless they're really out of it. And like, people have such meltdowns on Thursday. Like, Justin Thomas ended up missing the cut last week. I think he was 2 over after the first round, but like, I wasn't super concerned that he couldn't make the cut. If he had just played well, he probably would have shot like 63.
Yeah, I mean, DJ was, I'm not going to say he was on cut watch, but he started very slow. I certainly woke up Friday and my goal was to just get him through. These guys can recover immediately. I just hate when your guy shoots 66 and you look to see how many spots he moved up and it says like 4. It's just like, what? Like, oh yeah, 6 under, that's not actually that good of a round out there.
So this next range is super interesting because right after Scotty Scheffler, there seems to be a precipitous drop-off in terms of like, it's a real talent gap, although there's not a pricing gap in the 8K range. Harris English had initially been $8,900. Obviously, he has withdrawn. After him, it's Rory Sabatini at $8,800. Poston, 87. Jason Day, Doc Redman, Lucas Glover, Christian Blizhoot, Adam Hadwin, Rafa Cabrera-Bello, and Eric Van Grooyen, an even $8,000. The only one I have a star next to right now is Adam Hadwin. I like Glover. I like Redmond, but everyone likes those guys.
Yep. This is where these are guys that in the last couple of weeks, some of them have been your last man in at 6,800, at 7,100.
I had a bunch of lineups last week that ended with Glover and Redmond.
Yep. I think a lot of people have. And I think, it's been working out. You've been getting paid off. But similar to what I mentioned with Bryson, it's the same for these guys. The path to victory now is not make a cut. It's, you really got to start doing some things at these price and this ownership. So I really do. Lucas Glover's been amazing. Not to say Redmond hasn't, both of them. But man, this is a different evaluation. So tread a little carefully there. Then you have Day playing his 4th tournament in 4 weeks. That's a little weird. Sabatini, I don't like this range at all, which is why I'm really going to try to have 3 guys above it on most of these teams.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like what I want to do. I don't think that anyone's going to own Sabatini. People are owning JT Post. That is the craziest price, I think, of the entire slate. Because Poston has these 2 top 10 since we've returned, but he's actually been kind of horrible when you actually, like, he was good at Colonial, but he's lost almost a combined 8 strokes on approach the last 2 weeks. He's just been he's been chipping everything in. He's basically Spieth.
Yeah, this is where there's a bunch of these guys. That's the Wyndham Clark formula where I don't understand. how they do what they do. Mackenzie Hughes last week, another one, just outrageous. So I'm not going to mess around with that. I kind of like RCB a little bit. He's towards the bottom of the range. He's a guy that, he can get going a little. And the tee to green was actually pretty good at Travelers.
It was. Right now, early ownership projections, Sabatini 16%. Jesus. Redmond 18%, Glover 17%, Hadwin 15%. So people are on Hadwin. Do you know who by far the lowest owned guy of this range is?
Jason Day.
Jason Day.
Yeah, my man. Yeah, he scared everyone. That's definitely, people are thinking that he's more likely to withdraw with COVID. 4 straight weeks, he hasn't looked good. His irons are bad right now. I'm going to probably do what I normally do, which is have some exposure, but try to not go crazy with a guy that nothing would surprise me at this point.
What about my guy, Seabez? I said unless he ends up coming inside the top 5 at any sort of event, then I wouldn't actually learn how to pronounce his last name. You know how to pronounce his last name, though, don't you?
Bezenhut?
That's what I was going with.
That's what I'm going with. I mean, I call him, I was saying this to someone the other day, I call him, it's not the non-Louis South African guy. Like, there's not that many of them left now that Sabatini ditched him. So he's just the other South African. He loses off the tee, which, I think he correlates well to a guy like Hatton, someone like that, but he consistently is losing off the tee.
He is, but that didn't really seem to make that much of a difference at this course last year. Again, I could be wrong about that, but it was so easy to hit fairways, and the average driving distance was 13 yards longer than the average course on tour that I'm really trying to focus in on. Like you always kind of say, like pick a lane, pick similar style players to build your lineups around. I mean, his irons are really good, and he's a good putter. Like, let's go.
Oh, there's guys, I certainly have I build in kind of, I call it buckets. Like I have him in a bucket with guys like, we'll talk about Sneds, Hatton. There are guys like that, even Na to an extent. Crazy good with the irons, good with the putter. Off the tee, they're not going to blow you away. But Wesley Bryan, your boy, we'll talk about. A lot of guys like that this week that are pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think I would just lean, and that's the weird thing about like Redmond and Glover. Like, you look at them, you look at the results. The results would indicate play them. Then you look at their stats and you're like, holy shit, you need to play these guys. But I don't know what it is. Am I being stupid by talking myself out of them because of the price point and because of the ownership?
No, I mean, what I would do is what I tell people again. If you're like Doc Redmond is this good, he's going to continue to do this Abraham Answer style, then you obviously want to play him. And what you need to do is now you have 5 spots to be different, because starting with Doc Redmond, as one of your 6 is not going to do anything. A lot of people are going to have him. But at the same time, if you're not super sold, or you think that the value's been sucked out, which I kind of do to an extent, you can look to these other guys and say, all right, is Jason Day, 1/4 as likely to beat Doc Redmond? Obviously the answer to that is no. So you can look to deviate if you're willing to take that risk.
EVR is the last one of this. I mean, can he just post his like regular Euro numbers where he crushes at tee to green and can't putt?
Yeah, this guy, he's another anomaly. I really don't know what to make of him really across the board. He has flashes in big time fields. Then he not so good. He was good at Heritage, but he did it off the tee, which is a little weird. Kind of indifferent, to be honest. I prefer the guys at the upper 7s to the lower 8s.
I think I might. Oh, really? So let's drop into the 7s then. You have like Harmon.
Oh yeah.
Harmon, Snedeker, Noren, the Todd father. His ownership is going to be like 0.5% this week. Watch. Grace, Kisner, Varner, McNeely, Stallings. Like, I don't like any of these guys in the upper 7s.
Oh yeah. I like a lot of these guys. I don't mind. Harmon, who missed 2 midget putts to make the cut. Truly disgraceful last week. I don't understand that. I'm just going to continue to back him kind of in a macro build. You've got Noren. I think Maverick has cooled off a little bit, but I like him with the par 5s here. He's a pivot off Varner, who's the obvious play. Scott Stallings is actually striking it pretty well. I don't mind him at 7,500. This is going to be a range I attack pretty heavily, actually.
Really? I mean, I think you're going to be, I don't want to say completely alone in doing that, but that will definitely make you pretty unique. Snedeker is the one who would garner the most interest for me, just because it's a Donald Ross course. This guy dominates Donald Ross courses.
Yeah, and he fits what you were talking about. He's probably going to lose off the tee, can make up for it. Now, last week was just like mega extreme splits. He was god awful with the irons, but just unstoppable around the green and putting. You don't want to see that, but he can shore that up. And like I said, there's plenty of guys here that I feel actually good about. Particularly, like I said, Noren, Harmon, and Maverick.
Is Harold Varner at $7,600 good chalk or bad chalk, do you think?
So I think that people are looping him in with Lucas Glover and Redmond, but to me the difference is he's $1,000, around $1,000 cheaper. So there's a lot of ways where he gives you a middling performance, outscores his placement, and it gets you there. So I'm pretty comfortable with going to him. Everything checks out as it does with those other guys, except you have a little more wiggle room.
So now we start getting into the Pat Mayo range of guys that will most certainly make the cut that I think are going to win the tournament before it starts. But this low $7,000 area, I'm going with my guy, Hubba Hubbard. Been playing pretty well. I don't know how he plays well, because you look at his numbers, he looks like he's terrible, but he just continues to show up on weekends. Munoz, 7,100. Stanley, 7,100. Peter Uihlein, 7,000. I think I'm going to go with those four. And you could make compelling cases for Thompson the way he's playing, Gooch and Hoagie because of their iron play. Duncan has been incredible the past 2 weeks. Chris Kirk is coming off a win, and all of a sudden, my guy starting to show up a little bit, and back at a Ross design where he has won in the past. Pete Dye, Donald Ross courses, that's usually Siwoo's bread and butter. I will not be using him in my DraftKings lineup. I will simply just bet him to win because I just can't have Siwoo hurting me in that way. But Wes Roach was top 5 last year. Keegan Bradley, your guy, ends up coming into this tournament after missing the cut at the Travelers. Brian Stewart was top 5 last year, all because of putting, but now he's striking the ball really well. People love Patrick Rogers. I mean, he had a bad Travelers, but people loved him before that. And then you have, who's likely to be the highest owned of all of these guys, Mr. New Tour Card himself, Ben, Will Gordon.
Yeah, he was very good last week. He will most likely be on 0% of my teams. I'll go to Keegan. I'll go to Kirk. Munoz, you mentioned Kyle Stanley, who I played a little last week, got it done. Tyler Duncan, who I've been playing the whole time. If he could putt a little bit, he left some out there last week, struck it great. Creo is here. He did make the cut last week for a change, but everything is still very, very broken. I can't believe you mentioned Peter Uihlein, my boy. You think he's rounding into form after Charles Schwab?
He was really good at Charles Schwab, and
yeah,
he is someone who historically just loses so many strokes off the tee. All of a sudden, you get him at a bit of a shorter venue, he's gaining strokes off the tee. I don't need him to gain 5 strokes. I just need him not to lose 5 strokes, and all of a sudden, the approach is looking good. We know he can putt a little bit. That tends to be pretty consistent. He's gotten worse off the tee as the years have gone along, and he's basically gotten better at everything else. I think he's kind of sneaky here.
Yeah, again, I think this is where it's really important to pick some narratives because we only have 1 year with this course. I wouldn't, I'm going to play it pretty straight up, but it wouldn't shock me to see a different skill set emerge than what carried you last year. So you can look to those type of guys. I'm definitely going to take some teams that are stronger, Keegan type off the tee here. We'll get to Sam Burns. He's right below them. Just some stronger drivers of the ball and pair them up and see what happens.
6K range. You want to start with Sam Burns? Guy makes eagles.
So yeah, that guy, danger scorer, showdown type of, winning equity. I wish this was Bermuda. He's an LSU guy. He's a Bermuda guy. Other than that, though, he can fill it up. The putter is the wild card, but as we always talk about, that's as fluky as it gets anyway.
It is. And listen, he was on POA last week, dropped a stroke. He was on Bermuda the week before, dropped 0.8 of a stroke. And then you get him in Florida at Honda and API. He's gaining 5 on the green in each of those tournaments. He's all over the map, which isn't the worst thing in the world. It sucks for safety in your lineup. Like you mentioned, showdown, first round leader type guy. He can get hot enough with the putter that he gives himself ample birdie chances. I play Sam Burns a lot, and if he misses a green in regulation, like, when you're like going through Shot Tracker with all like the bums on your lineup and you're like, oh, well, I have this guy. I know his short game is pretty good. He'll probably get it up and down. If you see that Sam Burns has either A, missed a fairway, or B, missed a green, at least a bogey.
Yeah, you just log out at that point. But guys like that, you want to embrace that, because Sam Burns is probably going to, he's the type of player, it feels like you get him wrong more than the amount of times you get him right. But when you do get him right, you get paid off tenfold. It's kind of like Usti, but he's really live to do damage. I just don't know if he'll hold it together for 72 holes.
In the statistical model I have run on Fantasy National, over the past 24 rounds, Sam Burns rates out 16th. Mainly because he is 6th in the Eagles, he's 5th in par 5 scoring, he's 2nd in opportunities gained, and 16th on par 4s from 450 to 500. He's like a little mini Bubba right now. And the only guy who rates out higher than him, I think, in the 6K area is Chesson Hadley.
Chesson Hadley. I thought you were going to say Lanto. A lot of people with Lanto whispers this week.
I get it. He's back below 7K. That's always kind of his thing. And I'm kind of treating this like it's a swing season event, like a glorified swing season event. And like, that's why I'm going back to Munoz. I can see people going back to Lanto. Like, they just crush those. Like, when you get a bunch of really crappy guys in the field, these guys are like a lot better than you think.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's where we saw the FedEx Cup points reflect that. There's just a lot of them. That's the problem. There's just so many guys down there. You've got Wolf. Aaron Wise is someone that I certainly will be buying again.
Your guy.
And then
he's back.
He's back. He never left, but he's definitely back if he did leave. I don't know how low you're going to need to go here. It depends how aggressive you are up top, but I see no difference between these guys and the guys we just talked about.
Well, it's funny that you get like a certain kick to certain guys, like, because you have like Kisner, then Varner at 76. But after that, like Mav McNeely, Joseph Bramlett, Brian Stewart, like there is no difference between those guys. They might even be worse than the guys that we just talked about who are in the upper
That's what I'm
sixes.
saying. So but the difference between when you look up top, the difference between, to me, like Tony Finau and Bubba and Ricky versus Poston and Redmond and guys like that, to me, the gap is huge. So that same amount of money is making your lineups really different in my opinion, in terms of upside.
If you want to go with the Pat Mayo approach of hot irons and some putting, is that going to lead you all the way back to Charles again?
I thought there was like a 5-minute window after he was like 10 over where I thought he was coming back. But he didn't. Yeah, he is in that group again. He's not going to get it done off the tee. He's going to need to make a little more putts. I'm not opposed to. I mean, I don't think you want to chase, but Patton Kizzire from the clouds last week was fantastic. He's a great putter, more a Bermuda guy. There's some interesting names here in terms of fitting different profiles that you want to build.
I always like Kizzire. Like, if you go and look like historically where he's played well, par 70s. Loves a par 70. Not a huge fan of par 72s. Maybe just not a great par 5 player. Like, Hadley was the one I was really looking at. The ball striking is back. Guy can't chip, guy can't putt, but he gives himself ample opportunities to make birdies. So in this sort of like glorified Corn Ferry Tour event, where it could be a shootout, I don't mind him. I'm going to call this guy the sucker play of the week and watch him come like T5 again, but there's no way Ryan Armour can do that again, can he?
If he does that again, then I'll just have to live with it, but I have no interest in chasing that. Gained 7 strokes putting. I'm not there. There's just so many other guys that if I was going to take pure flyers, I would go even lower. To people that I can consistently grade out well that I can't explain, Wyndham Clark is at the top of that list for me every week. Unexplainable sometimes how he does it. Don't think he's going to play well, but I never do. And he does attack par 5s, can get crazy hot with the short game.
Yeah, he just hits it so far off the tee that sometimes that's all you need if you just want to bomb and gouge it.
There's some names down here, though. Like, you've got Chappells of the world. Cam Davis is someone who was playing pretty well, lost that a little bit, but again, par 72 is definitely his speed. Now we're talking 6,500.
So Cam Davis in this field, 8th in birdies or better gained over the past 24 rounds. I think that there is some merit this week, not even to Troy merit, although he's someone who can just post 62s like that. And loves bent. Big fan of bent grass and hot weather. I think he won the Rocket Mortgage when it was the Quicken Loans. When it was in DC in the middle of the summer, he won Barbasol in the middle of the summer, like scorching hot heats. It's supposed to be very hot this week. And you use Troy Merritt like every week anyway, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, he just comes preloaded in like 6% of my lineups. And then I wonder, like, I don't realize that I played him till usually Saturday, where I realize he's no longer in the tournament. But there's some guys. I mean, do you want to sell Society on Wesley Bryan, who 6,500 is somewhat playable here?
So shout out to Paul Shag, at Paul Shag behind the camera, for pointing this out. Because he really wanted to emphasize this. So when you look at Wes Bryan overall, and this is where statistical modeling is going to get you into a lot of trouble. Not great. 133rd tee to green, 144th in ball striking, 120th in putting, 153rd off the tee. That's probably relatively unchanged over the past 24 rounds. However, since the hiatus has come over, his past 8 rounds, the 2 tournaments that he's played in, all of a sudden, Ben, he's 22nd tee to green, 2nd in approach. Slightly better driving the ball, shockingly. He's no longer the worst guy in the field. He's just one of the worst guys in the field. But I talked about that I'm de-emphasizing how much off the tee play, as long as he doesn't lose 3 strokes. He can lose like 0.4 of a stroke or gain 0.4. Just hit the fucking fairway, Wes Bryan, and then use your irons. And the big thing with him is he hasn't been rolling in putts. However, I can recall a time when Wes Bryan did this exact same thing before. He got so hot with his irons, and then the putter came along, and all of a sudden he was posting like -20 every single week.
So the thing about Wesley Bryan that's a good thing, and we talk about this usually with putting, but he does it with his irons, is that he doesn't gain consistently, but when he does gain, it's like 10 strokes with the approach. Like he'll have, middling, 0, -1, -2, 1, 2. +9 out of nowhere. And when you have a guy like that, if you're hitting that, if you can get that hot, you're always live to do serious damage. And last week at Travelers, +9.3 on the approach. That's just upside you can't really generate. So for something like cash or something where you're looking for middling outcomes, obviously not. But for tournaments, if you can combine his approach with, we know he's a good putter overall, that's a pretty lethal combo.
Good putter, always better on bent grass as well. And like you said, the 9.2, I don't expect him to gain close to 10 strokes on approach again, but he was by far the best player in the Travelers field with his irons. If he just gains 5 on approach this week, which is still a big ask, he's going to be in this.
I can sprinkle a little of that with some of these teams. Oh man, now we're getting down there.
He was the big one for me. I went to Norlander last week at the Min. He made the cut. He's 65 this week. Ball striking wise, he's been fine. He also generates a ton of eagles, so he's someone that I kind of like a little bit. Tyler McCumber is always someone that I like, that this low of a price. He's a rookie. He's been making a bunch of cuts. He hits the irons really, really well. CT Pan's been playing a lot better recently. Like, again, we just talked about like the Maverick McNeelys of the world. Like, I know that CT Pan has been relatively inconsistent. Also, CT Pan has won on the PGA Tour, has won at Heritage, a shorter course. He came second at a Donald Ross course at Wyndham, and now we're here at another Donald Ross course. Why not if he's starting to heat up?
Yeah, he just needs to turn around the putter a little bit. I don't believe he's this bad of a putter. As we've seen, he's been losing consistently. And he's just not strong enough tee to green per se to kind of, come to he just, the way his putter, it masks it, and that's just something he's not going to be able to overcome. I've been trying to buy, and it's frustrating, to be honest, because he's someone I've always liked to play, but I just don't see him being able to hang if he can't correct the putter.
I can't remember if it was you who likes this guy or whoever it is who likes this guy, but I like Chase Seifert.
Yes, it's me, and I'm the only one. I was about to mention this guy. He destroys par 5s. He can get crazy hot on bent grass. He busted on the scene. He had a random pop at Travelers a couple years ago. It was a total luck box with the short game and with the putter. But now you look at his stats, he actually gains consistently with the irons. Tee to green is fine. He's certainly not making a ton of noise. We haven't seen him post-COVID he also, not that this means anything, he tweeted out he got a hole in one in the practice round here yesterday. So good for him. Hopefully he does that in the actual tournament.
I like that you're following Chase Seifert on social media for anything positive.
Yeah, that's the info you can only get here. Chase Seifert hole in one.
ChaseSeifertHoleInOnes.com, a site owned by Benjamin Raza.
That's going to the moon. I don't think it's that crazy to look to guys this low, honestly.
Like, okay, so let's say you wanted to go Merritt, Seifert, Wes Bryan, and play the ultimate superstar super scrubs lineup. Like, I don't necessarily hate that.
See, the thing about that is what you're measuring against. I mean, how much lower is their made cut equity than the guys that are $600, $700, $800 more than them? To me, like, they're 60-40 against the Joseph Bramlett, Brian Stewarts of the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I think I would want to take that chance if it unlocks threes. Like, if I can go, hell, I don't know if it actually works with that lineup, but I just told you the 10K guys that I like. Could you jam in 3 10K guys with those 3 guys?
I mean, if it's not, it would be pretty close, especially if it's non-Bryson. With Bryson, I don't think you can do it.
No, could I go Reed, Hatton, Matsuyama, those 3 guys?
Yeah, it would be pretty close. I'm not sure. You may be just short, but if you bumped off a little and you just took your favorite 9K guy, you easily could do it. No problem.
Let's see here. Now I want to see if this actually works.
We've unlocked the code.
Not to say that I'm going to do this per se, but I'm just curious to see if it's actually something that is feasible. Let's see here. Let's go Hatton, Reed, Matsuyama. It gives me an average player of 6,200, so I wouldn't be able to quite squeeze it off. But yeah, if instead of using Matsuyama, I use I would have like $1,200 left over.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, those are builds that people are, I don't want to say they're uncomfortable with, but I feel like they're way less common. Most people just want, for as many guys they feel comfortable with. I try to go the opposite, honestly. Like I did that last week. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the last guy through, but it didn't really matter because that's the other thing. 6 of 6 has been so low lately. Yeah, in the Millie Maker, you're going to need 6, of course. But if you're talking even smaller fields, if you have 5 of 6, it doesn't mean that you're not live to do serious damage.
Yeah, I put it this way. If it wasn't for Showdown, I would not have won money on DraftKings last week, so that saved me. But with the way that my lineups were going, I played 20 lineups. I had no 6 of 6s. I had 1 5 of 6, and the rest were 4 of 6 and 3 of 6. And I didn't get wiped out. I think I lost half my money, which in a week where that's the case is... I'll take it. I will take losing half my money and running with the results that I had. That 5 of 6 lineup that had DJ in it won a bunch of money.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was a very similar wavelength. I had a lot of 5 of 6s with DJ, and those did damage in some spots. It actually carried me. So you can look to that. It's all about how the cut unfolds, of course. Now, if Redmond and Glover and Varner and all of them sail through, you have to reevaluate, of course, but there's a lot of scenarios where that doesn't happen.
If we talk like macro strategy for golf in general, I know we've done this a bunch of times, but I think it really hit home last week because so rarely do we see that type of carnage at a tournament where so many of, not necessarily like the top name, because a top name won in Dustin Johnson, but a lot of them missed the cut as well. The week that I scored big at Heritage, I faded the top 4 guys on the board, didn't use anyone above $10,000, started my build in the 9K. I still had good guys in my lineup. I had Xander and I had Cantlay, but I faded all of like the big names who were there, and I got a bunch of 6 of 6s through, and that led me to a bunch of money. That in Carnage weeks, although they only happen like once every 8 tournaments or so, that's where the value of these pivots really comes in handy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's no coincidence that the lower the 6 of 6 percentage is, the better chance I personally have to have a really big week. Because I'm pretty aggressive with ownership usually, and I think that the cut being now 65 has actually really helped me in that department. So when it's like a 1% 6 of 6, I tend to be all right because my lineups are very unique, and they employ a lot of the strategies that we talked about where you have weird dead ranges where like I will have 3 guys that are all like $1,500 more expensive than my other 3 guys, and like a huge dead zone in the middle or vice versa. Little things to get leverage that make the difference.
Last two guys in the 6K area. Just want to get
Oh my
your
God.
thoughts on them. I bet Matt Wallace to win at 160 to 1. Do you think I should just leave it there?
Yeah, I mean, if you can ask the site to cancel the bet, that's probably your best move. But if not, I would leave it there. I don't.
Hey, you're familiar with it. Listen, you play Euro. You know what Matt Wallace can do.
I do. I'm kidding. I do know that. God,
He's been bad.
You look at where he was, just like not dominant in majors, but very legit in majors. And then the wheels have just kind of fallen off with the irons. So if he can get back with the putter, that's obviously the wild card. Bent grass, definitely his best shot. I get what you did there. I like him more as a bet than a DraftKings play, though.
Yeah, he's sort of like Si Woo in that stance. Like, one of the reasons I like Hatton so much this week and some of these Euro guys, and Wallace kind of falls into this bucket as well, is that when they win on the Euro Tour, it's always at a birdie fest.
So if you were playing, say, like 100 lineups, would you use Tom Lewis then?
I don't know. I gave Tom Lewis some serious consideration, but
like I remember so many times in my life waking up, checking Euro scores, and it's just like somebody shot 53. Oh, Tom Lewis is playing. Like that guy gets dangerously hot. And then he randomly like won, at Q school and has some starts here. Not playing well. I don't expect much from him, but if you're talking about a guy like that, he's someone that does that occasionally.
He missed the cut at Charles Schwab, but he gained over a stroke off the tee and almost 2 in approach in his 2 rounds. He just couldn't putt or chip. Ended up missing the cut. The other guy is Nate Lashley?
The champ? I mean, I don't know. He wasn't. You couldn't even play him last year. Remember that?
Yeah.
He wasn't in the thing.
Yeah, he was also the first round leader, and he wasn't available in the first round leader market.
What's he been doing? Oh, geez, not much.
He was first round leader on the Outlaw Tour, the first event he played.
Okay, so he's been going that route. Yeah, I there's nothing really to glean for me. I probably will just roll those shares to guys that I just think have a little more upside when we talk about Cam Davis. Even like if I had to, I would take shots with like Danny Willett or Chappell, just bigger names in my opinion.
Let's see here. Top Australia Asian, as they group that part of the country together. But in terms of bets, you mentioned Cam Davis. I like Cam Percy, too, who rates out really well for me. Talk about a guy who can't putt, that guy. But Cam Davis is plus 550 to be top Australian, and Cam Percy is 8 to 1 to be top Australian. So the only two guys that are ranked, like Day is minus 200 to be top Australian. Like he's just too inconsistent to even think about that. But it's also freeing up all this value down the board. Like, are Davis and Percy better than Badley, Ryan Gibson, VJ, Greg, Super Nintendo Chalmers, Tim Wilkinson, and John Sendon? Yes. Matt Jones is really the only outlier there. I think you could probably bet both of them.
Yeah, I don't mind that. We don't have. I was gonna say, did I miss? Because when Cam Smith is in the field, I don't notice because I don't even consider him. But that's one less guy to worry about. That's actually pretty interesting. I'm gonna look. That is something I did not look into at all. I looked at Noren to be the top Euro at like 9 to 1.
I mentioned this to Feinberg. I wish this tournament was harder, and then I'd like Noren.
Oh yeah, then I would really. I totally agree that the thought, if you told me the winner is going to be minus 22, is that Noren? That doesn't scream something that he's going to get it done. We saw him way back in the day at Farmers. There's something about him right now, though. I like this setup. I like this spot. I'm also, again, I'm not nearly as high on the top end Englishman as you are.
Well, the other thing, just looking at top Swede right now, it's a head-to-head. It's Noren versus Norlander. What do you think the odds are on that?
Maybe like minus 175.
Minus 250 for Noren. You get almost 2 to 1 to bet Norlander there. I think I would take that.
That's even heavy for me. Like I think Noren works him, but minus 250, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so maybe I'll parlay Norlander with...
I know this is totally unrelated. Speaking of Swedes, did Henrik Stenson retire?
He's on, we did that draft before the year. He's on my team. He has $0.
Yeah, I know. My team is just Bryson at this point, and he keeps me afloat because he's unbelievable. But yeah, Stenson just chose the road less traveled. Never is here anymore.
He must be in Sweden, is the only thing that I can fathom. Like, it just like we haven't seen Fleetwood either because I think that he's still overseas. I don't know where the fuck Adam Scott is. He's probably like tanning on a beach in Bermuda or something.
Yeah, he's chilling.
But like, what does he need to do? What does he need to play golf for? And like, I guess Tiger would be the other one. But like, I don't know. Some old guys. I mean, Stenson's not a young man. Only Twitter search Henrik Stenson. Maybe he'll pop up. I mean, if he was Chase Seifert, you'd know all about him. But
well, I only keep tabs on the important people, so it's I leave that to the other. Yeah, maybe he's chilling with Molinari and Fleetwood over there.
Good luck to all of you playing in the inaugural Henrik Stenson Paragolf Challenge, July 1st and 2nd at Barbasak GCC in Sweden. He's just chilling. Hopefully he fucking wins. Hopefully he wins that event so we can get on the fucking board.
Yeah, you get money from that. They pay you in kroners or whatever the hell they use up there.
Yeah, I believe kroner is the Danish currency.
Yeah, I just know that from Seinfeld. But that's neither here nor there.
I think is Sweden in the Eurozone? I know Denmark's a part of the European Union, but they're not. There's the European Union, but there's also a thing called the Eurozone, which uses the euro currency, and Denmark is not a part of that. Swedish uses the krona.
Well, I get more than half of a point for that then.
Yeah, it was like, because when I did my honeymoon, I went to all these countries, so I had to get like Icelandic money, which is like, it's also something like, does krona just mean like dollar in like Scandinavian?
That's a pretty fair assumption, I think.
Yeah, so the one in Iceland is called, let's see, the krona, but it has like an accent aigu over the O. It's kroner in Denmark, krona for Sweden. So fun chat. Paul, you had something to say?
Where's Barn Rat?
Oh yeah,
Barn Rat's like drag racing Ferraris. He's probably in Fast and the Furious 9.
I mean, he hasn't played a golf tournament in all this time. Usually he gets motivated when he needs money. You would think he needs money. Where's the Barn Rat? People want the Barn Rat.
He's probably
there's no fans there. He can smoke everywhere.
That is true. No fans. He can smoke as many cigs as he wants.
I forgot about it. Yeah, who knows? He's over in like Brunei with the Sultan gambling, but yeah, that's another. There are some guys that have slipped through the cracks that aren't around right now.
I assume Memorial or the WGC at the FedEx St. Jude. Where the hell that course? TBC Southwind is the name of the course. I assume we're going to see those guys at one of those two because you think they would want to get a start before the PGA Championship.
Yeah, I mean they're going to have to prep a little bit. And
I always throw out this trivia question: how old do you think Barn Rat is?
28.
He's 30. For whatever, I think I always got him confused with Tong Chai JD. Just when they first
burst onto the scene. He's like 60.
Yeah, and he's really old. That I just, for whatever reason, I just thought Affy Barn Rat was old too. That's my mistake. I apologize for that. But I just, in my mind, like I just correlate the two Thai players on tour. For whatever reason, I just assumed they were the same age.
Yeah, I do that with Brandon Grace. He's my number one by far.
You just think that? I would say Grace is probably like 32.
Yeah, he's around that. I always think he's like 50.
He kind of.
I don't know why. Maybe that's why then. But yeah, he's pretty young actually.
I feel like that's going to happen to Cam Smith at some point where everyone, just because he looks like he's 15, that everyone's going to assume he's like 22 and he's like 40.
Yeah, I mean him and Fitzy's been out here for like 15 years.
How actually old is he now?
I don't know, but it's insane.
Fitzpatrick is 20. He's still only 25.
Yeah, that makes legitimately no sense because he's he was playing in like the early 90s, it feels like.
Yeah, he has the game from the early 90s. Cam Smith is 26.
Okay, I would have thought a little older.
Anyway, I think we've beaten this into the ground. Ben Rasa, where can everyone find you, your work, and your shows?
Yeah, stop on over, awesemo.com. Shows every day leading up to golf, tools, not just on the DFS side, on the betting side. We've got new packages, weekly, monthly, annually. So go over awesemo.com/join. Check it out. We'd love to have you as part of the team.
All right. Pat Mayo, follow me on Twitter and Facebook at the PME. That's where I'll be posting my betting sheet on Wednesday. I'll have some giveaways on Twitter at the PME. If you follow along that account, the PME Open, full. Missed your chance. So sorry. Tune in next Sunday for the first crack at the link, or even Saturday evening if I decide to post it then, although you guys are probably way too drunk. And I don't know, what do you guys do on America Day? Shoot guns or something?
Yeah, just that's what we got to do down here.
Fire it at the sun?
Yep. Yeah, I got to fire at the sun. Sad. eat some hot dogs, do some grilling, social distance grilling,
Some fireworks.
fireworks.
Lots of fireworks. I was in Boston one year for it. A lot of fireworks.
A lot of fireworks. Yep.
All right. Well, happy 4th of July to everyone out there. Hopefully you can win some cash on your 4th of July. I'll be busy spending my midweek Canada Day, like doing nothing, staying at home, like watching kids. But yeah, PME Open. It'll be in the first look video. That's when the link will first appear. And it's been filling by Monday every single week. And we're going to try to get it up to 6,000 spots back to flat payout next week. So please go join that. Smash the like on your way out the door. Rate the podcast 5 stars. Please leave a review. That'd be so nice of you. And 20% off at fantasynational.com if you use /Mayo at the end of that or just promo code Mayo. Thank you all for watching. Let's win some cash on the DraftKings this week. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!